Well, good evening, y'all. Welcome to the resurgence of sanity. Please like and subscribe. Well, guys, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, the thumbnail I made has a magician on it, so we might be talking about I don't know, some magic maybe? Maybe? I don't know.
The Magic Man? Like now you see me, now you don't.
Well, yeah.
We're
I
not
mean,
shaking and baking. No, I'm just
it's a magician's trick. He distracts you with what he's doing on one hand, and then this the what he's doing in the other hand you're not paying attention to. And it's like what's going on in the world. We got all these world events and shit going on. And oh, look over there. While you're looking over there, they're doing something over here. That's
so it's kind of
that was
like
my setup.
okay. Here, I'm gonna make you look at this. Have all your focus over here while I do something else with the other hand that you don't even see coming. It's more than that. It's definitely more than that. So there's distraction, there's misdirection, and then there's deception. So we're talking about distraction used to misdirect, which is a form of deceiving to accomplish a purpose. And a lot of times you don't know what that purpose is. In fact, you're misdirected, so you don't see what's going to happen until it happens, and it's too late to do anything about it. And then you're reacting. So it's like a game of chess. You may make your opponent think you're doing something, but you actually ended up doing something else. So, for those who used to play the my most favorite computer game ever, I think the best strategy game ever, even better than the second one that's out. Those used to play StarCraft. I know Plutarch has played this game.
Oh no, I've been
Ah,
outed.
yeah. So my friends knew I was a bit obsessive with this game in like junior high and high school. I ran several clans. I did ladder. I did competitions. Um, there was one tactic I developed. It didn't always work, but it was fun to do. And so, but it also played on the psychology of the enemy. So sometimes I would choose a devious and risky tactic, spying out the enemy base towards the beginning of the game. You could send drones out or your SCVs or your probes if you're, that's Terran, the drone is the Zerg, the SCVs, the Terran, that's the humans, and then the probe is the Protoss. So I usually would use Zerg and I would send a drone out or a Zergling, which is like a cheap, fast unit at the beginning of the game, and I'd spy out their base and I let them follow me back to and let them find my base. It was a risky strategy because it relied on them finding my weak base and being able to have enough, and I would have to have enough resources to lure them and sort of fend them off just a little bit to make them seem I'm not a complete noob, but not a great player either. Meanwhile, all this was going on, I built up my actual base in a completely different location on the other side of the map. And I would prep for a air unit raid. What do we call a Hydra or Guardian rush? Being the Zerg air units. So I would put them at ease, making them think that they're not playing this great player. And they had no idea what my actual intent, what my actual plan was. They thought they knew my plan. And ideally, I would want them to commit all their forces to attack my decoy base. And then while they're distracted, committing their forces to that, I could sneak my units around the map and obliterate their base. If I was a complete a-hole, there's a little map selection you could do where you could reveal your units. I'd reveal all my units and base on the map as I destroyed them.
So Nick, I have read The Art of War. I do consider it one of the great works of military strategy. And this sounds an awful lot to me like something that Sun Tzu said in The Art of War.
Yeah, he said a lot of things here. I can bring that up. There we go. So I grabbed a bunch of quotes on Sun Tzu that I thought were pretty applicable about distraction and misdirection, which we'll get to defining here in a minute. But let's go through what Sun Tzu says in his book, The Art of War. He says, the whole secret lies in confusing the enemy so that he cannot fathom our real intent.
Cannot fathom.
Be like, you don't really know what's going on. You don't really know. Then another one's be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness. Thereby, you can be the director of the opponent's fate. So being in control without them knowing that you're in control. And since all warfare is based on deception, hence when we are able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must appear inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. If your enemy is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is superior in strength, evade him. If your opponent is temperamental, seek to irritate him. Pretend to be weak. Kind of what I did. Pretend to be weak that he may grow arrogant. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. If sovereign and subject are in accord, put division between them. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. And this last one, I love. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt.
Oh, there are so many places I could apply this. If his forces are united, separate them.
Ooh.
I don't know that this is exactly where we wanted to go tonight, but has everyone out there in the YouTuberverse noticed that there's a whole lot of discord striking the red pill space today?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. It just seems to have ramped up. Well, maybe approaching a noticeable level in the last week, and it's getting pretty severe. I don't know if it's hit its height or zenith yet, but it's building. I mean, there's just a lot of infighting and backbiting and backstabbing, and he said this, and they're clustering. Well, this is my faction, and that's that faction over there that I don't like. And okay, it's not it's okay. We're using red pill as kind of a descriptor of the people we follow. Not all identify as red pill.
That's true. Well, here's the thing. We don't have to use red pill. Do you want to, where else do you want to take a look around the world that you could see this happening, or just even in the US? Let's see. What happened on Thursday night last week? There's an example we could use of discord and fractionation and all of that. Any other examples going on?
Well, everybody's Yeah, you could talk about what happened to Thomas Massey and what he said and what soon after happened while everybody else is distracted. We don't know the actual cause, but, it is curious.
I'm not unaware of what went on there.
Yeah, we can't. I know what he's talking about. We
Okay.
can't talk about that.
Yeah, I'm not saying you educate me now. If it's
You know what that means, right, Steve?
yeah, nasty shit.
Well, but I that's actually, regardless of whether or not we understand what's happening there, and I don't think we do. We do not have any special
It makes
insight.
you question. Should
What's
make you question.
interesting, though, is with all the other stuff going on, did y'all even know that Thomas Massey's wife died?
I did.
I
I
did.
did know that. Yes, I did.
Okay. How many people are talking all over Twitter about the debate performance on Thursday and had no idea that happened?
And Thomas Massey, I mean, I've heard the name. I don't know that I've watched him or could identify him, but he's not that old, is he? 50s,
50s, yeah.
So
Early
his
50s,
wife
I
is
think.
probably in her 50s. So that would make it kind of unusual
Yeah, it was not
Um,
expected.
that his wife would die. Not rare. It happens. But
Well, he made some
uncommon.
certain comments about a political group that chaperoned congressmen and other things. Yeah,
Well,
and what
he doesn't talk about it. He didn't talk about it, and so it could be that there was something else going on there. Like, again, we do not know.
We don't know.
yeah, and there's that whole conspiracy talk. The Clinton body count. Yeah, that's just conspiracy talk.
Just a lot of coincidence.
Well,
Right.
think about. Well, okay. Here's other things that have happened. Chevron was struck down on Friday. Okay.
The stock, you mean?
No. Chevron deference.
That's what I thought at
The
first. I
Supreme
was like, what are you
Court, the administrative state. So the power of the administrative state derives from something called Chevron deference, which basically the Supreme Court says, oh, well, if a statute is ambiguous, the courts will defer to the administrative agency in charge of it as the experts to determine whether or not this is, whether or not the agency's rule is correct. It was a case called Loper Bright Enterprises v. Raimondo. And basically, the nuts and bolts were the national fisheries, the National Fishery Monitoring Agency, part of the EPA, was charging Loper Bright $700 a day to pay the inspector to live on the ship. So yeah, exactly. The company had to pay for its own inspector, its own government inspector, and they had used Chevron to say, well, this is okay. And the Supreme Court said, no, as a matter of fact, it's not okay. And people were losing their shit over it because it means that no longer are courts just going to automatically defer. I mean, it doesn't change as much as people think it does. There was another one. That came out today. So there's all this stuff going on. All this stuff. The Trump immunity, qualified immunity.
Yeah,
thing,
that too.
came out today. And so,
And then
go ahead.
Oh, I heard. You can probably tell me if this is true. Patriot missiles. The U.S. Production capacity of Patriot missiles is about 550 per year. I don't remember where I heard it. Who said it? They're hoping to ramp that up to 650 per year. They have commitments to Israel, commitments to Taiwan, and, well, kind of commitments to Ukraine. But if you think of the Iranian attack on Israel, where they sent over what 500 some
Drones.
drones and whatnot, and a few missiles and other stuff, and cruise missiles. They used up a lot of Patriot missiles. They typically fire 2 per target to increase the success rate. Well, if you can just do simple math in your head, you can realize if the U.S. is in
Not thousands,
conflict
they will.
in 3 parts of the globe, and our production is that low, we have problems. So
Yeah.
I heard they pulled back commitments to any place other than Israel and Taiwan.
That is
And the
incorrect.
other places, okay, are supposed to
Uh,
get missiles from someplace else. Now, what? Okay, correct me then.
Okay, so Israel has actually retired the Patriot. They no longer use it.
Okay.
So, and that actually makes sense. Their missiles are better than the Patriot, and the Patriot's a damn good missile, and theirs are better. So, and during the Iranian strikes, they did not use any Patriots. So,
Okay.
very likely what will happen with the retired IDF Patriot systems is they will get sent off to either Ukraine or Taiwan. So that is what's happening there.
But I mean, with all these wars, it is going to challenge our production capacity.
Yeah, it's kind of
Sure.
interesting.
Or not.
The same thing, a very similar thing happened when I was doing classical studies. So I had a double major in history and classics. So it's classical studies and basically ancient history and church history, which I covered in my undergrad. And I did some of that in the grad level as well. A lot of people say the problem, the wonder is not that there was a Roman Empire, but that it stayed together so long. You have to understand how much in the ancient world, how much geography did they have to cover?
A lot.
They came from Italy and extended all the way out. They were completely overextended, dealing with all these different conflicts, and then not having people to serve in their own armies. So they have to hire them out as well.
Well, the situation today is for the United States, and this isn't the direction I wanted to go,
Globalism.
but
It's a global empire,
the
essentially.
the situation today
It's like
for
capitalist
the
global empire.
United States
Sorry.
is not the same at all. There is so back in the days of the Romans, there were militaries that could challenge them. I'm thinking of like the Gauls in the north, particularly, but there is just on tonnage. This is a very simple number to illustrate the point. The Chinese have 800,000 tons of naval shipping. The United States has 3.2 million. I realize that's kind of a rough number, but when you have to at the end of the day, and I think we kind of proved this with our Civil War video last week, the tables matter. The Excel spreadsheets matter to this stuff.
Right.
So the problem really isn't that there is a challenger out there. The problem is if you want to talk about misdirection, everything I see China doing, if you understand Sun Tzu and you've studied his work, everything China's doing screams we are weak. And we know we're weak. We know we can't take on the United States in an all-up military capacity. And I could pull up a map that, and I don't have it with me because I wasn't planning on going this direction. But I could pull up a map that basically demonstrates that for the low sum of about $2 billion of military expenditure, the United States could send China back to the 1850s. So the Chinese know that. At least I assume that you're quote unquote, I assume that my enemy knows their weaknesses. They don't always, but I have to assume that they do. Well, it's a few stealth bombers to knock out one or two oil pipelines, and it's a destroyer flotilla. We're not talking about a lot of military hardware and cost here, and there's absolutely nothing the Chinese can do to stop it. They simply do not have the range to impose their will where they need to impose their will. So, again, what you see the Chinese doing instead is misdirection, making us believe here that China is this unified state that is that its mission is more or less manifest destiny. Really, you see a lot of that kind of talk out of China. We are unified. We are going into the future. People on Discord kept pestering me with, "Oh, China has published the most scientific papers." They've also had the most papers retracted, the most papers written by AI, the most papers proven to be absolute nonsense. So,
well, China knows this, and the U.S. knows it. Just look back to World War II. Japan was a pretty advanced country. They had some pretty amazing warships, really good airplanes.
Yes.
But what was their Achilles heel?
Oil.
Oil from Indonesia. And do you think China knows the lesson of what really was Japan's Achilles heel? I think so.
China knows it, but they can't do anything about it because they have no oil either.
Right. Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they're trying to. That's why they're trying to get in the middle. All these alliances together.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
and the U.S. has its strategy too. I mean, we got a lot of stuff. We're looking at 3 different directions, and we would like to concentrate our forces on whatever we do. We don't want to be divided and fighting a 3-front war.
Didn't it work out well?
We got capacity, right? But we don't want to do that.
You don't want to fight a 2-front war.
No, much less a 3-front war.
Right. Well, so here's the thing. The United States is the only nation in history that has won a war on 2 fronts. That is true, because that was World War II. However, Nick, you made an interesting point. Okay. Does anyone know all the moves that China's been making while the United States has been in its political spasms? Do y'all know what they've been doing?
Well, there's the BRIC thing, all the trade agreements there, and the
Saudi Arabia will now sell oil in yuan as opposed to dollars. That happened here last month while you weren't paying attention. Okay. That's good for China.
That's significant.
Yep. Yeah. So
that was already happening. That was already happening.
It was already happening, but they tied the deal up last month. So
Saudi Arabia blatantly ended the petrodollar. And the petrodollar, that was put in place
50 years ago.
74. 2 or 3? 74. Okay, 74. That was a Kissinger thing. And that went in place shortly after the U.S. closed the gold window. Because France was redeeming dollars for gold. U.S. citizens couldn't, but France did. So that closed. It was we saw it coming. Silver went out of U.S. coinage in 1964. A little
Thank
bit.
You, Nixon.
65.
That was Nixon, right?
So, okay. Gold or silver no longer backs anything. Okay, what's going to back it now? Oh, oil. And so that oil, the petrodollar, was a big deal. And that stayed a long time. And
now
okay, guys. We're getting
it's not completely gone yet.
On distraction.
We are getting distracted.
These are all the distractions.
Well, but
all right.
The point that I was trying to make is that these are things that matter to your guys' life. Oil matters to your life. That's energy.
Yeah. Yep. Matters to mine a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. But could it be that maybe that there are some people out here in the world, some state actors maybe, who have a vested interest in you not paying attention to these moves?
Sure, but is that are we supposed? Is that the decoy though?
Well,
How deep does it go?
so you can drive yourself insane,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the decoy is. The way I look at it is pretty simple, and it keeps me from going insane. Look at where all the noise is. Ignore all of the noise and go read everything else, because the stuff does get out. Like the whole petrodollar thing, it was talked about in the financial news quite a bit. And everyone basically realized it was going to be a nothing burger financially. And it was. And there's lots of good reasons for that. And I'm not going to get into them here. But it didn't get talked about wider than that, because because at the time that happened, you had the Trump verdict come down. And that gets pushed by bots in the social media spaces. That's what gets traction on podcasts, which is why we're not talking about that stuff. We're talking about the other things that happened to prove a point. And that point is, you were distracted from things that mattered by things that don't. And I can hear the Trumpists lining up right now saying, "Oh, but the verdict was the most important thing to happen to us." And I'm like, was it really? Was it?
That's important. I don't know if it's
Right.
smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. So let's get to that now, guys.
Yeah.
Well, let's define some things. I think we've kind of gone around it, but let's what is distraction? And then we'll get to misdirection. The act of this is so 1828. Webster's dictionary. I like old definitions. Next one's not an old one, but it's the act of distracting, a drawing apart, a separation. It's confusion from a multiplicity of objects crowding on the mind and calling the attention different ways, a perturbation of the mind, perplexity as the family was in a state of distraction, confusion of affairs, tumult, disorder as political distractions. So you go madness, a state of disorder, reason, like, it kind of goes way down, way down. But then there's also misdirection, and that is a wrong direction or the act or an instance of misdirecting or diverting, the state of being misdirected. So I found this interesting video. It might not add too much, but makes you think.
Can't hear any sound.
Did you forget to share audio there, Nick?
Hold on. How do I do that?
So when you're sharing a whole window like that, there's a little on StreamYard. You'll have to close it, and then there'll be a little tick
Close-
box on the share audio on the
Close what?
remove your screen share.
Okay, so I go remove. Okay. I hit share, edit name.
No, you're going to have to take the whole thing down, reshare it, but there's a little option you have to tick to get the computer audio.
So I need to stop screen.
Yep.
Then I need to go present, share screen, right?
Yep. And then on the bottom of the share screen selector, there's going to be an option to share audio.
Okay. I have to share the screen. Okay. There we go. That's fine. There we go. Now I got it. I'm figuring stuff out, guys. Here we go. I'm jumping ahead, but here we go.
One that's noticed that the cost of everything has gone up, except
Man, I'm gonna have to reload this. There you go.
hey, question. How does the Matrix control information in the age of information? By grabbing your attention and pointing you in a different direction. Am I the only one that's noticed that the cost of everything has gone up except televisions. Hey,
I just thought that was interesting.
The,
So
the television comments is a great grab. That's a great grab.
I don't know. There might be more to it than what he says, but that's interesting. And
There
then I
is.
thought this would be actually kind of it gets you to think actually what they're doing, and then you realize you really.
By the way, Penn and Teller are the absolute masters of this, so I'm glad you picked them for this. I got to
I
see
like
it.
Penn and Teller.
I got to see them in person last year when Elena was doing the show with Donovan Sharp, and they disappeared an entire cow while it was surrounded by people holding hands. I do not know how they did it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's a version of what they did right there, and it's brilliant.
Yep, it is brilliant. So you don't see it till you see it. You're being distracted, and you know you're being so brilliant minds, right? Or just people that are aware. They generally know they're being distracted. But what are they being distracted from? You don't know till you know. Unless you're somehow one of those geniuses and you can figure all this stuff. You're an expert in all these tactics. You can generally figure out and anticipate your enemy, or you're in the intelligence community. You might know more than other people. You might be able to pick stuff up. Or if you're a magician yourself, you're in the know. So you can look at other magicians and kind of figure out what they're going to do. But the
Well,
normies,
Nick,
we don't know. We don't have a clue.
Nick, I know way more than other people. I know way more than the normies about the stuff I know. But then something happens and oh shit, all the stuff I know doesn't apply over there, and I didn't see that coming. I'm telling you this, you're never gonna figure out exactly what you're being distracted from. You can kind of be aware. You might catch some of it, but most of the time, you're not. So you kind of have to have a general level of preparedness and resiliency, and then be able to adapt because you're not gonna know.
So who here is going to fall for a Trojan horse today?
Amongst the three of us,
Nobody. That's because we know what happened already. So if
like
you
an
don't
actual
know,
Trojan? No, but
no, I mean like the original deception, one of the original deceivers, Odysseus, right?
Yeah.
He came
Yeah.
up with the idea of the Trojan horse. They pretended like they were going to sail away. The Greeks that from that side were fighting the Trojans, and the Trojans had the horse was like a sign for their city. So the Trojan horse. So they had this long war, and they acted like they're going to leave. They sailed away, left the Trojan horse at the city gates. They thought it was a trophy. So they're admitting defeat, and they gave us a trophy. So they wheeled it in. And little did they know that what did Odysseus do? Cunning Odysseus, as one of his epithets.
Well, there was a small number of men in there. We don't know. I don't know how many. 6, 10, 12,
I forget. I don't know if it was described.
whatever.
If it was, I forgot.
And so at night, they opened up the secret door and they went and opened the gate from the inside. Because that's the only way the gate can be opened. And once the gate is opened, the city's defenseless. And then all the masses come in and defeat the Trojans.
So were they a little bit distracted, misdirected?
it worked.
It worked. What were the sirens trying to get Odysseus to do, and the sailors? to lure them out, to get them off their direction, to misdirect, and basically, kill them. But
Yeah, to
since
lure them into steering towards the rocks.
yeah, and what did he do? He got the sailors to put like some sort of wax between their ears and tied them to the mast or something like that.
So the sailors.
He tied himself. Yeah, they
Yeah.
tied him to the mast, and he could hear, but he
Right.
said, "Pay no attention to me," because he wanted to hear their song, but he also wanted to make it through.
Yeah. Oh, what's another thing? Oh, yeah, the Bible had some interesting stuff. Here, I'll share that with you guys. So, like, deception's even in the Bible, or deception and distraction. Uh, Here, I'll present right here, add to stage, and I'll go to right here. Oh, yeah, the book of Joshua. Oh, what happened? Oh, the Gibeonites. So, and when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and Ai, destroyed, right? They did work willily and went and made as if they had been ambassadors and took old sacks upon their asses. It's not the curse word, that's the donkey. And wine bottles, old and rent and bound up, and old shoes and clouded upon their feet, and old garments upon them, and all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal and said to him and to the men of Israel, "We be come from a far country. Now, therefore, make ye a league with us." And, they talk a bit. They do their little ruse, right? Oh, look at here, looky there, and we're from over here, blah, blah, blah. And wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, "Take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, saying to them, We are your servants, therefore now make a league with us. This is our bread we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we came forth to go to you. But now, behold, it is dry and it is moldy. And these bottles of wine which we filled, oh, we're new, and behold, they be rent, and these are garments, and our shoes become old by reason of a very long journey." And the men took of their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. Key part there, by the way. And Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them to let them live. And the princes of the congregation swear unto them. And it came to pass at the end of 3 days, after they had made a league with them, that they heard that they were their neighbors and that they dwelt among them. And the children of Israel journeyed and came into their cities on the third day. Now their cities were Gibeon and I can't know, Chephirah and Beeroth and Kiriath Jearim. And the children of Israel smote them not because the princes of the congregation had swore unto them by the Lord God of Israel, and all the congregation murmured against the princes. But all the princes said unto the congregation, We have sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel. Now, therefore, we may not touch them. Ooh. They're deceived. They're distracted. What do you guys think?
Well, I think for
So-
one, this shows just how commonplace the strategy has been throughout the millennia.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I was thinking about. There's deception. Yeah, okay. But there's an oath. Even if deception was used to gain your oath is still binding.
Yeah.
The oath is binding. And okay,
Yep.
now here's where I went next, and this is not part of our stream today. I'll go to the marriage oath. It's binding till death
Yep.
do us part. Now, what are the circumstances where you can break that oath?
Adultery and a desertion, maybe, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's not, I'm not happy. I mean, and these oaths were made by men, and even men kind of say, well, damn, you got me there, but I gave my word, so I'm still going to follow my word.
Right.
But yeah, deception happens all the time.
And even this was like it's like 1400 BC ish, depending on your view of the Exodus and all that, but about 1400 BC. So this happened to the people of God, right? They were deceived and they wrote it down.
Well, it goes to the point that quite literally anybody on this earth can be deceived and probably will be at some point.
Oh yeah. So like what David did, remember David was fleeing from Saul, right? He's like, Saul's gonna kill me. So this is 1 Samuel 27. So fast forward about 400 years. Oh, and so he goes to the land of his enemy. Israelites and Philistines are enemies. And so he's like, so Saul despaired of me to seek more. And so he's gonna escape out of his hand. And so he goes to the enemy, Achish, the son of king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath and his men and every man with his household and David with his two wives, blah, blah, blah. Right? Not blah, blah, blah. That's God's word, but you know. And he goes to Achish and he gave him Ziklag that day. And what did David do? So David feigned being crazy, right? And what did he do while in Ziklag? While in the land of the Philistines? They invaded the Geshurites and the Gezrites and the Amalekites. And he smote the land. Then he returned to Achish. And he lies. He distracts them. He's like, no. He went against the south of Judah and against the south of the Jerahmeelites and against the south of the Kenites. And David saved neither man nor woman alive to bring tidings to Gath, saying, lest they should tell on us, saying, so did David, and so will be his manner all the while he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines. And Achish believed David, saying, he hath made his people Israel utterly to abhor him. Therefore, he shall be my servant forever. Ooh. And then he's like, you're going to go to battle with me. And then that didn't quite happen. And then what happened?
Oh, you're telling this story. I'm just listening.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell your story.
And they're like, they didn't trust David, but Achish did. He's like, no, he's good. But then he sent him away, so he didn't have to fight his own people. Interesting, huh? So there's deception there, even with David. But then, what did David do? Not for love of country and love for God, but love to protect his own image and love for himself. He spied that hot babe Bathsheba, and he had sex with her, and she conceived. And he tried to cover it up with misdirection, right? He brought Uriah back home. He tried to get her to sleep with her, but he was a good soldier. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that while we're out fighting. And so he didn't go and delay with her. So he could fool Uriah that the baby was his instead of David's. And so instead, what David did was this. Now in the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. He had written in the letter saying, place Uriah in the front line of the fiercest battle and withdraw from him so that he may be struck down and die. So it was as Joab kept watch on the city that he put Uriah at the place where he knew there were valiant men. The men of the city went out and fought against Joab, and some of the people among David's servants fell, and Uriah the Hittite also died. Then Joab sent and reported to David all the events of the war.
Oh, so you're saying we use misdirection to clap them cheeks too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that does happen. And I just say that there's misdirection. You don't always know the reason,
Yeah.
and you don't always
Yeah.
know what's coming. Uriah had no clue. He was a faith. He thought he was serving his God and country, right? He thought he was serving his friend David. He got sent
Well,
out to fight this war, and his government stabbed him in the back.
this reminds me of a lot of divorce stories
Yeah.
where there's preparations in advance, in misdirection, and appearing weak while they're strong, and they're forming alliances, and then they strike like lightning, and you're
Yeah,
completely
Sun
caught
Tzu.
unaware,
Mhm.
and you don't know what to do, and the allies. I mean, you're confused by befuddled by all the misdirection, and yeah, you're at a major disadvantage, and typically you lose a lot in that situation. I mean,
Well,
it's war.
Oh, it's kinda like the blitzkrieg, right? Like a blitzkrieg tactic.
it's kind of like that. What the enemy is trying to do is they are trying to, because the human brain doesn't ramp up, very well. In when you've got a lot of stuff coming at you, you have to really slow down and sort out what it is that's coming at you. Well, you can't do it when the whole world is coming at you. That's what Sun Tzu is talking about. You strike like a lightning bolt, hit them with everything you've got so fast that they can't even make sense of the information they're getting. Okay, because
Oh,
eventually you will be able to.
yeah, I know some, you wanna go red pill on this right now?
Sure, we love the
So
red pill.
yeah, we do. So, a red pill's a bit is developed after some people been Sun Tzu'd by the devious women, right? Especially married men.
I think that was the impetus. Yes.
Oh, so a man could be, "Hey, let's make this marriage work." He's working hard. He goes to work 9 to 5, faithful man. He doesn't quite understand why the marriage bed's drying up a bit. He's like, I just don't get it. But over his head, he's staying his course. He's providing. He's ready to protect his family. He's ready to do counseling, whatever it happens. He just wants his family to stay together. Then all of a sudden, he enters the house. Yeah, he's right here. I'm very scared. Yeah, he hit me. Please come right now. He's like going, what's going on? Gets hauled off to jail. Kids are taken away. He's locked out of his house. His divorce papers as well. Oh, little did he know that she was probably like effing the pool guy or Chad Thunderstroke. She'd been probably sleeping around for a while. She was just bored and she wanted out. And
Maybe she
well,
was. Maybe she wasn't.
maybe she was.
But she
He's
had been
screwed.
planning this for 6 months to a year.
Oh yeah.
That
And a lot of times they
whole
already have a
time,
lawyer.
that one vacation you went on that was so wonderful. Yeah, she already knew that she was going to do this. Yep, that was misdirection. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
and so I think we talked about my story a little bit a couple episodes ago. Um, I I figured my wife out before she could launch her plan, and it was interesting to watch because her plans all fell apart the moment I called her out.
Yeah.
You Her plan relied on her belief that I was not paying attention to what she was doing in the marriage. And of course, I was just focused on other things. I got to go out there, got to get the money, pay the bills, et cetera, et cetera. It looked like I wasn't spending enough time on it, blah, blah, blah. The narrative that you guys have all heard before, right?
Yep.
But when I call her out, she literally told me, "Oh yeah, I was thinking that we could stick together for 3 more months to get through the holidays." And my brain just went, bullshit. Just nope,
No.
that's bullshit. But she had this plan of how she was going to do it. And here's the interesting thing about misdirection. When it doesn't work, it ends very badly for the person trying it, because it is usually done from a position of weakness. In her case, she didn't really have the moral justification she thought she did. And I end up being the one to go get the lawyer, because I was paying attention, and there was no shock or surprise or dumbfoundedness on my part. It was, I see you behaving this way. What's going on? Okay. You're playing tonsil hockey with another dude. Okay, it's Friday night. The lawyer's offices are all closed. I'm gonna go get a lawyer on Monday morning. Well, it was Monday afternoon, but had to make a call first. And off we go. Okay. Her plan falls apart. She doesn't control the narrative anymore. She doesn't control the action anymore. She can't beat me out of the gate. I'm already going to go get a lawyer myself. She doesn't have one before then, and she couldn't, because she knew that and this was one of her complaints, is that I had pretty tight control over the money. I knew where it was going. And so she couldn't just go out and drop a retainer on a lawyer without me figuring out something was up. So
this brings up the issue. Okay, we know we're being misdirected and distracted. Sometimes betrayal happens by somebody very close to you. So let's start with male friends. A man has a male friend. How do men deal with this man to man? I mean, you have good friends that you go
Usually
there
have a
and
private
you'll be
conversation.
there. Well, no. Okay, let me say it differently or further outlined. Okay, you got a good male friend, and whatever he needs, you'll be there for him.
Right.
Yep. You call, you need it. Yep, I'll do it. Oh, if you need money, you need a couple $1,000. Yep. Just ask. Yep, you got it. So how do you guard yourself against being betrayed? Now, yeah, okay, he doesn't pay back the $2,000 for me. Okay. I was prepared for that when I gave him $2,000. You know what I mean? Okay, he's probably going to give it back to me. But if he doesn't, it's not going to end my life. So how do men protect themselves from being betrayed by other men?
Well, I think you actually well, but I think, Steve, you also described
that's where my mind goes. Judas.
Jude, of course.
What did he say? What you must do quickly. Something like that. Yeah.
Well, but the other thing, I think Steve actually said it. He just didn't call out that he said it. He said, "Well, I if he doesn't give it back, I'm prepared for that."
Right.
I think, and this is where we get ourselves particularly in trouble with women, is we tend to think of women as sugar and spice, everything nice, roses. How could they do any of this stuff? Right.
You let the Trojan horse inside your walls.
Yes. You didn't treat the woman like a man.
Good friend, you treat him kind of at arm's length. You give him a good hug, whatnot. But no, he's over there. I'm only going to I'll trust him with my life, but on a limited basis. With a wife, you think she's on your team. You never really think a good friend is on your team. No, he's an ally. He's not on my team. He's on his own team. But somehow
And
you
a lot of
assume
times
your
they're
wife is
subverted
on
by
your
their,
team.
but they can be white knighted also by the women, your friends. So against you.
Oh, they can.
That happened to me. So
Well,
Yeah.
but
anyway, Steve, I think I'm interrupting you, man. I'm sorry.
yeah, sorry.
You know what? I'm finished. Now I just throw these things out there. Now I want to hear some other commentary on it.
So, like, one of my best friends, who's sort of a mentor, but not quite a mentor. I didn't know that there are all these private conversations and visits. I'd let the ex go and visit, and I'm like, oh, I'd be good for her. Get around another woman, and I didn't know that there were stories being spun. I didn't know facts were being twisted. I didn't know my friend was, gonna betray me and throw me under the bus, but he did.
Was he encouraging her stories?
Oh yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs, but yeah, he didn't bring it to a stop. He didn't notify me. You know, and it's
Well,
like,
this
oh no, you lost sight of the gospel. You need to repent. I'm like, really? So that means that she can just go ahead and leave because you think I lost sight of the gospel because I was against your complementarianism and your mediocrity, and you didn't see the problems in front of you. But hey, I'm a bad man for trying to have frame and marriage and all that, but
well,
I lost sight of the gospel. So that excuses them to go up and leave and ruin a man's life on false accusations. Thank you very much, friend.
this gets to something I think that we don't talk about enough. You need to be very guarded with who you bring into your life. And it'll be different levels of guarding based on what you're doing. Like Nick, Steve, and I have never met in person. They know we know some of each other's stories, but we don't know the whole story. And because of that, we're relatively guarded if for some strange reason one of us decides to stab each other in the back. Okay. There's not much you guys can do.
Sure enough.
But we do have to work together, so we do know some things, right? Okay. With your wife, you get a lot less of that.
Hey, before you go on there, we're good enough friends, and I think we know each other well enough now that we would do a lot for each other. You need
Yes.
a favor, you need something done. Yes. Yeah, hell yes. I've evaluated you. I think you're a quality guy, and I'm there for you. Oh, you need some money, you need this, you need that. Yep, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
And so, but it's kind of arm's length right now. We haven't known each other for what? It's been about 6 months where we've been working together. Okay.
Yeah.
We're pretty good friends for only knowing each other for 6 months.
Well, we spend a lot of time talking because producing this stuff is not easy.
No.
Well, but there's a flip side to this, and that is men, particularly men, do not, and I'm going to repeat this, do not go inviting and imposing yourself in other people's relationships. No good will ever come of that. Because as what happened with Nick, the wife can sit there and twist you about. And there have been some accusations made in the red pill over the past couple of weeks. Some absolutely horrifying accusations that, as far as I personally can tell, are completely baseless. But the point of the accusation is not that it's true. The point of the accusation is to short circuit your brain, is to get you to stop thinking rationally and get you emotionally riled up into thinking, oh, this person is bad. the people involved
Yeah, well,
will probably recognize who I'm talking about, but
these accusations have nothing to do with any of the three of us. We're just outside observers.
correct.
Is this a distraction?
I believe it is. I believe it is an attempt to get. I believe there's a couple different things going on there. Really, it's an attempt to distract you, the viewer, from what that. So the person who makes the accusation, they need you to be just in this particular case, they needed you to be distracted from the failure that they were setting themselves up for and eventually experienced. And so if they can make a distraction that is even more egregious, that's even more emotional than the failure that they are, you won't notice them failing. You'll be thinking about the other thing. And so distraction can also be used as a tool to prevent you from seeing the failure of another person, and then you continue to go on and think, oh, well, this person is quote unquote, still my guy, right? And because of that accusation, now they can loop you into that if they can create a bubble of utter nonsense around that distraction. They can suck you into that bubble, and you now start to believe that accusation is true. I know the accused. I have met him in person. I find the accusation to be hysterical, but most of you haven't met the fellow in question, and you don't know that. So it's your word against the word of the accuser. And because the accusation is so emotional and it goes to the very core of who we are as human beings, even if you might rationally think that the accusation is false, because it's so heinous, you feel that, well, this is called the big lie, by the way. You feel that, clearly, if the accusation's made, there must be something there.
I think you're saying that the accusation is baseless.
Yeah, the accusation is baseless, but it doesn't matter for the accuser. They just need you to believe that it's not baseless, or that maybe there's a little kernel of truth there.
Oh, so like a lot of the accusations on political figures, none like you say what happened in Alabama, right? Remember that election that I don't know if anybody remembers. What was the guy's last name? Moore or something?
There's a lot of elections, so you'll have to.
Well, he was accused of some sort of infidelity, right? If I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure
It's
how
very common in politics. So.
That's a common
And
accusation.
and all of a sudden, this solid red state had a blue senator.
So the silver bullet strategy works in politics too, huh?
Oh yeah.
sure.
Well, we've also seen that, elsewhere.
Don't say it, Nick. Don't say it.
But it's the whole Me Too bullcrap that at least the red pill's good at saying, no. This is all a distraction. It's all the way
Yeah,
to.
well, yeah, no.
It's a power.
No. The red pill guys understand the use of it, but sometimes they still fall for it.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, maybe we're a little bit.
Sometimes we're still distracted and we don't even know it. We don't know what we don't know. That's the problem.
So when it comes, okay, here's some advice on misdirection. Okay, a man is commanded by God to love his wife. And in our modern world, we somehow equate this love and trust is the same thing. If I love her, I'll trust her. No. Okay, they're two different words. They mean different things. You can love her. You can be willing to die for her. Yeah, you can trust her to a limited basis. But remember, you're in charge and she's your biggest vulnerability. So implicit trust, you could go back to The words by Ronald Reagan to the Russians: trust but verify. So, okay, you got to decide how you're going to do that. But my point is, love and trust are two different things. You can have total love and partial trust, or mitigated trust, or limited trust, and that doesn't take away from your total love. The other thing people often do is, well, if I give to you all this stuff, you'll give it back to me. So if I trust you implicitly, you will trust me implicitly. No, no,
Nope.
doesn't work that way.
Well, so I want to be careful here because we were talking about something else that'll probably show up on a future stream before we jumped on. And because what we were talking about was one of the favorite attacks of people is to try and split marriages apart. By using some of these kind of highly emotional, very personal, I would call grotesque attacks, claiming, for example, let's say, somebody accuses, a third party accuses a dad of abusing one of their children. Okay. When that happens, guys, you're going to find out the quality of the woman you're with really fast. Because there are some women who are going to look at that accuser and go, the fuck you on about, bro? That ain't happening. And that attack's going to fall apart pretty much right there. But we have trained women today, particularly, and men too, to some extent, that to be so untrusting of men, the whole man versus bear thing.
Man, dad.
Yeah, that if the accusation is made that it must be true, all of this distraction stuff works because we as a culture have accepted that the accusation makes it true to some extent. And the answer is it doesn't.
And many women actually use this against their husbands. Let me tell you something,
Yes.
guys. It happens. And when she does that, she wants you dead. She wants to kill you. She wants to destroy you. She wants to see you in jail. She wants to see you totally humiliated, taking all the blame. She wants the absolute worst. She would happy to see you be tortured. And she makes
long
it,
as the money keeps
justifies it
coming.
in her mind. It's displacement of blame. If you're innocent, you're innocent. And you know. But it's her displacing all her guilt and shame on you. And if she's misdirecting all the attention to you. And once you're accused, nobody's going to look at her.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, the risk of this is not insignificant. It happens, I don't know, 5, 10, 15% of the time. Maybe not in the major, really bad way, but in the kind of bad way, yeah, probably 15% of the time. But you're not going to listen to me. You're going to say, oh, this he's just an angry man because this happened to him. And so you're going to dismiss it. Well, okay, go ahead.
So so when dealing with these misdirections, there's a couple of strategies you can use. One of them we talked about earlier was where you see the noise, start looking everywhere but where the noise is.
Yeah.
That noise is a signal to you to start looking around, looking elsewhere for the knife that's coming for your back, right?
Yeah.
The other thing though is once you have, and this is a self-defense term, once you have cleared your personal space of threats, question the accuser. first. Before you run off on an emotionally driven, I have to go save the damsel in distress from this horrible person. No, you question the accuser. You confront the accuser and say, what is your evidence? And you hold them to that. And for certain accusations, I would say the standard, particularly accusations of criminal activity, the accusation needs to be, where are the police reports? Where are the convictions? It cannot be, because anytime the accusation is sufficient, all I have to do is make the accusation. And if the world has decided that that's sufficient, you won't do the work to find out if it really is true or not. And a good man gets destroyed in the process. Before there's this old expression I heard. The lie has made it halfway around the world before the truth has gotten its boots on.
Right.
And
Sure.
that's what all of this stuff is about. They want you to pay more attention to the lie so that you're not even trying to put your boots of truth on. Actually, boots of truth is kind of a fun picture because you're walking around in that slop outside and your boots are protecting you from it.
Well, there's a lot of drama going around right now in the sphere, red pill sphere, YouTube sphere. The people that have been on our shows, we've been on a couple of theirs, people we know and respect, and it's just a lot of turmoil, a lot of misdirection, a lot of crap and drama. And everybody's just so focused on that now. I don't think anybody has a real direction right now. So
Well,
be careful.
and certainly there is right now in the red pill manosphere, whatever we want to call it, space, nothing is getting done to actually improve the lives of men. Nothing. We're all pointing guns at each other and begging, the other faction to flinch and pull the trigger first. Like this whole thing has turned into one giant shit show of people flinging turds at each other. Stop it. You are supposed to be these rational men who are capable of rising above this shit. So fucking rise above it. Do better. Or I'm going to say something that none of y'all are going to like, but all of you guys out there slinging this shit, talking a big game, sorry, you have no frame. You are not red pill. You're not any of the stuff you claim to be. You're just a fucking grifter. Goodbye.
I think what you're saying is you lost the frame. When you lost the frame, you're not on your mission.
Correct.
So let me ask those guys, what is your mission? Your mission,
Undistracted.
let's hear. You frame, and then you frame, and I stay focused on my mission. I act towards my mission. I don't react to all the crap going around me. That's misdirection. Reacting to others is misdirection. And if you do that, you don't have frame. That's my definition.
How could you have frame if you're reacting to what other people are doing? The definition of frame is that you are in control of your own actions. Well, reactions are that's not frame.
Those are my words defining it. But yeah, I'm not coming up with my own definition.
People are always going to react to something. Reacting is not necessarily wrong, but you should be in control of yourself and on your own mission, regardless of all the crap that's going on about you. So,
yeah, don't stay in the reaction mode. I guess that's
true.
No,
true. Well, and
stay on target.
Famous quote. One of the things that I would say that's been really helpful about having these other two gentlemen around is that when one of us gets a little bit too a little bit too wrapped up in whatever's going on, the other two kind of pull you back by the scruff your neck and they say, nope, no, let's think about this rationally. And we keep a check on each other. And as men, we used to do a lot more of this. And I think we need to get back to that. And maybe that's what we need to be working on right now. I don't know.
This show is hilarious because we gave Nick this task. Oh, Nick, you're going to do this exposing the narrative. Nick says, oh, man, I'm not good at that stuff, that philosophical thing. I'm good at history and facts. And, he didn't want to do it. But we said, no, you'll do okay. So he had, I'm sure he had this vision of what he was going to do in this show. And I'm guessing it turned out nothing like what he expected, because I had no idea. You just get the three of us together and give us a word, just one word. We'll make a show out of it. Who the hell knows where it's
within my
go?
broader expectations. It stayed within my broader expectations.
Broader expectations. So what you're saying is I didn't derail us too far with my.
No. Crap! My computer just spazzed out. Okay. No, like it pretty much has happened. I had this feeling and suspicion as I was doing this episode, would that be interesting if, I had this plan and I generally got to say what I needed to say, and then it take on all these different directions. I said, I have a feeling, and I thought that it could happen. And I was like, well, we'll see, and it kind of did. No, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I had to edit myself.
We're starting to apply this in directions I did not completely anticipate.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what misdirection is. Misdirection is trying to get you to go in directions you didn't think that somebody else wants you to go. Right? So it's misdirection. You're not being directed the right place. I think we did something a little different because we each have different knowledge and different experience. And this is something that we're going to have to work on, and guys are going to have to work on as we go through this, is understanding the difference between, just different experience, different knowledge sets, and people who are actively trying to misdirect you. And that's why I brought up the example I did. Yes, I'm using coded language. I do not want to trigger the sensors on the robotic sensors on YouTube. But I think most people in this space probably know what I'm talking about now. And we brought that up as an example of active misdirection. And active misdirection is going to look very different than somebody putting up their hand and saying, hey, have you thought about this? And then conversation rabbit holes for 10 minutes. But if I can loop it back to the main conversation point, then was that misdirection, or was that exploring an idea and then coming back? Misdirection is, I don't want you to look at anything I'm doing over here.
It's so insidious that sometimes it starts with innuendo.
Yeah.
Or affiliation. Or someone wasn't paying attention and they commented on something. Oh, did you look and see? And then an ad hominem on, 2 degrees of separation from there to there, and the innuendo, and you see where this leads? Yeah, bullshit.
Well, but that goes back to what I was saying earlier of you have to be incredibly careful about who you invite in, because you don't know who is going to be the one to backbite you. There, I can say that to maybe draw a little more tie to what I'm talking about here. And you can say, oh, well, I didn't know. And to what I would respond, what I would say is, you jumped ahead thinking that this person was going to be an ally without doing the proper vetting first. It's no different than vetting a woman. You're going to spend a long time doing it, and it's hard work. And you might still be wrong, but at least you can say,
Yeah.
yeah, but I put in the effort to do it.
That's true.
Look, guys,
Yeah,
if you
and
can't,
if you
go ahead.
and if it doesn't go good on your first interaction, if you say something off there, there's some I don't know what's going on. There's something off. Well, you probably should listen to that instinct.
Doesn't necessarily mean you have to
And-
write them off right away.
No, I'm not saying act on
Caution.
it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, okay, just keep
Proceed
your
with
walls
caution.
up, keep your guard, proceed
Mhm.
with caution. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I guess this episode is more of a cautionary tale. But frankly, I want the message, and I'm probably going to hammer on this message more to the people who are just fighting and shit stirring and throwing turds at each other. Stop it. Just stop it. You're not helping. You're not helping yourself. Honestly, yeah, drama might be good for streams and views and watch hours and probably even super chats. But you know what it also does? It destroys the people around you. It destroys the mission that you're on. It destroys all of the work that has been done, because even if you personally agree with it, when other people see it, they're not going to understand why a thing is bad, because they haven't done the research in the nuance. They're just going to go, oh, thing bad. I agree with you. And it becomes uneducated rabble mob throwing stones at things they don't understand and then complaining when the power goes out.
Hey,
Because
you know what?
that's where we're headed.
You're describing what's going on philosophically. And our Wednesday stream. The topic of that is, what is the red pill? And people don't know what it means. And the meaning is not well defined. And some people think it's this, some people think it's that. Some people it's, oh, you're gaining knowledge about women, so you can go out and sleep with all the women and, rack up your notch count and and hurt all the women that I might want in the future. No. Okay, so that is a misdirection. It's a misapplication. And so, what is the
A
red pill?
straw man. That's a straw man too.
It's okay, yeah, it's a straw man. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. Okay, not everybody's going to agree with this. So what? And why do we still call ourselves red pill amid all this controversy? Why not? Aren't Christians supposed to be participating in all spheres as long as you keep your morals and advocate for principles and all that? Is there any problem being red pill? Hey, folks, doesn't mean you're advocating promiscuity.
Correct.
Well,
So
Nick.
I don't need to say more than that.
Nick, I have a question for you.
Sure.
And I'm going to phrase this in a church sense, but I think it applies to the red pill as well. If you go to a church and you disagree with something that the pastor says, does that mean that you should leave the church, go out, find a bunch of people who disagree with what the pastor says, and start try and bring them in to tear down that church?
No.
Okay, what should you do?
Confront them. Ask a question.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what you do with interpersonal relationships if you have a disagreement. How about you talk to them, have a conversation? Don't be a
Right.
coward. Don't like gossip and crap. And You know, if it's public knowledge, sure. I mean, it's like, yeah, I saw that, but you know, you need to have the guts and talk to the person about it. So you should do that.
We
Also, misdirection in the church. So I'll make this point. Like my own denomination, you know, oh, mean tweets that. Oh, this person said something kind of mean. Oh, well, this doesn't fit our polity. And they have all these maneuvers, machinations, and they're distracting them from the slow rot that's going on within. They're inviting corrupt or not as strong ministers and other presbyteries. So they're misdirecting them from the infiltration. They're misdirecting them from, you know, the watering down of doctrine, of complementarianism, and they're labeling all the patriarchal guys as these mean, abusive, blah, blah, blah. While not only do the families in their own churches rot and are destroyed, but the society around them is being destroyed. They're being misdirected. They're being distracted.
So what you're saying is that this can happen and that people bring this stuff in, and instead of trying to well, there's two components. First, you have to confront the person, I assume, but then that person has to be willing to take correction.
Right. But so what happens is it's the younger guys that are they're seeing the bigger picture, right? They may not see all the mechanizations they learn after a time. uh, but what comes in is it's the older effeminate losers. I'll call them that. Pieces of crap. They'll
You
stab
mean
you in the
guys
back.
my age?
Judases. Yeah, yeah. I'm talking about you cocksuckers. That's what you are, you effeminate pieces of crap that come after my friends. Yeah. I did go there, but that's what you are. And what they do is they get these older guys that are all these boomer idiots. Sorry, Steve, not you, but you know, they're all sucking on the mother's teat and pleasing all the women in the congregation, and they go after the men that speak out. They say, they might be ideological zealots like myself. And it's like, no, this is wrong. Why is this going on? I have a duty and I'm going to say something. But no, they confront them. They follow the playbook. They use the playbook against them. And the young guys we don't know what's going on. And the other guys that might be on their side say, oh, just trust the process. You're blah, blah, blah. They've succumbed to the idea that they can just wait it out, and they will never wait it out. They'll just slowly rot.
Yeah, this is a conversation that I've been having in the sort of the back end of, you know, with churches that I don't associated with isn't quite the word, you know, but people in churches that I talk to, and a lot of them are saying, hey, look, you know, we're tired of fighting the wars. We don't, you know, we just think that we're just going to fort up and wait it out. And I have nothing but bad news for you. You will die if you try that. You will die. I mean that both, and I don't necessarily mean that physically. I mean that spiritually. You will be taken out by exactly the process that Nick described. He watched it done to his denomination. It's been done to many, many other denominations. And these tactics work on, it's not just church. They work on secular groups. They work on the red pill just as well. And it doesn't even have to be intentional. Just the opening of an accusation, just the opening of doubt, and fear. So instead of attacking each other and tearing each other down, and I do believe the Bible has words on this. Maybe Nick will look them up. But should not Christians be building up other men? Should not Christians be building up other men, even if they're not Christian? I don't know, Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it was a limited statement about building each other up.
No, iron sharpens iron. Friends. You should have godly friends. Friends of character. You can see that Paul had other friends that weren't Christian in the Book of Acts. You can see that, but in general, naturally, you're to build each other up, and you see that across nations over time. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand, right?
Yeah.
So, here's one thing that I've heard. Certain people say, well, we believe in biblical patriarchy.
Okay.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. But I don't think we should call it that. I just believe in patriarchy. And yeah, then I practice biblical patriarchy, but I believe in patriarchy. The problem with saying biblical patriarchy, because now you're
inviting
qualifying it.
biblicism. You're inviting biblicism
And
instead of natural
yes,
theology.
and then a woman can say, well, you're being a patriarch, but you're not being biblical. So then she criticizes you. Well, yeah, I'd follow if you were a biblical patriarch, but not if you're just a patriarch. And then think back to when God
That sounds
established
like
it.
feminism sneaking in the back door.
In Genesis, Adam had dominion. There was no Bible. There was just patriarchy. So, you start putting a qualifier in front of any concept or word. Now it's open for interpretation. And you know as well as I do that people interpret words how they want to interpret them.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, I don't know. How much longer do we want to take this stream? It's turning into kind of a rambling thing.
All right.
Yeah, we're
we know-
probably done.
We're done.
But next Wednesday is going to be, I don't know, maybe a continuation kind of this. Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't see the link until now.
So,
all right, guys. So
yeah, I
we've
didn't
talked
either.
about distraction. We've talked about misdirection. We've talked about it, the strategies, how it happens. We see it related in Penn and Teller. We've seen it in classics. We've seen it exposed for the red pill and what we are experiencing today. Any closing thoughts on that?
Mm.
All right. So please, guys, please like and subscribe. Watch us this Wednesday at 5:45 Pacific, 6:45 Mountain, 7:45 Central, and 8:45 Eastern on the Resurgence of Sanity. Well, we'll be talking about what, guys?
What is the red pill?
All right.
This might be
Thank
a
you.
long one.
Please tune in. It'll be a good one. Y'all
Yep.
have a good night.
Night.